So, in late 2025, the planet gave us this powerful reminder of the incredible forces at work right under our feet. An ancient volcano in Ethiopia roared back to life, and its effects, well, they were felt thousands of kilometers away in some of the most unexpected ways.
And it all starts with this puzzle that sounds almost impossible, right? How can an eruption in the Horn of Africa cause total chaos in the skies all the way over the Indian subcontinent? The answer really shows you just how connected our world is.
To get to the bottom of the cause, we first have to look at the effect, an effect that pretty much caught the entire global aviation industry completely off guard.
Okay, so just imagine this. You're at an airport in India, getting ready to board your flight, and then, all of a sudden, it's canceled or delayed indefinitely. That was the reality for thousands of passengers. Without any warning, this massive invisible threat had drifted right into one of the world's busiest air corridors, forcing planes to either divert or just stay on the ground.
Now, the source of all this chaos wasn't a storm, it wasn't a technical glitch, no, it was something far more primordial, something waking up from an incredibly long sleep. And here it is. The culprit was the Hayli Gubbi volcano in Ethiopia's Afar region. And what's just astonishing is its history, or really, its total lack of one. This volcano hadn't erupted since the end of the last ice age. Let that number really sink in for a second. 12,000 years. I mean, that's longer than all of recorded human history. This was a quiet giant, one that everyone considered completely dormant, until, well, it wasn't.
You know, Hayli Gubbi is what's known as a shield volcano. Usually, these are the chill ones, known for calm, gentle lava flows, kind of like what you see in Hawaii. But this eruption, it was the complete opposite. It was a violent, explosive blast, what's called a subplinian eruption. And that's a super unusual and powerful event for this type of volcano.
So, what on earth caused this gentle giant to just blow its top so violently? Well, scientists believe the trigger was something called a magma dike intrusion. And the easiest way to think about this is like an underground magma superhighway. It's a channel that lets molten rock travel from one volcanic system to another. So here's the chain reaction that happened. Magma from the nearby erupted volcano, which is very active, traveled about 30 kilometers sideways, deep underground. It found a weak spot right underneath the sleeping Hayli Gubbi, forced its way up to the surface, and violently woke it up. And this explosive awakening, it unleashed a colossal column of ash straight into the atmosphere, which then began this extraordinary journey across the globe. That eruption column shot upwards to an altitude of 45,000 feet. We're talking more than 13 kilometers straight up. And that put it directly into the stratosphere, which is exactly where commercial jets cruise. And that right there is the crucial detail that explains all the disruption in India. So as these high-altitude winds caught this cloud of what is essentially fine volcanic glass and sulfur, it started to drift east. And this created a stark contrast between its impact on the ground below and its impact on the skies thousands of kilometers away. And you can really see that contrast here. Locally in Ethiopia, the disaster was immediate and tangible. Ash was just blanketing the entire landscape. But internationally, the impact was atmospheric. This massive invisible cloud of sulfur dioxide that's incredibly dangerous for airplanes. For the local pastoralist communities, this was just a catastrophe. Ash, several centimeters thick, buried the grazing lands their animals need to survive. It contaminated water sources, and it led to widespread respiratory problems as people breathed in all that fine dust. Their entire way of life was threatened, literally overnight. But this single eruption isn't just an isolated event. It's actually a dramatic symptom of one of the most powerful geological forces on our entire planet. To really understand Hayli Gubbi, we have to zoom way out. This eruption is like a single flashpoint in a slow-motion geological drama that's been unfolding for millions and millions of years. It's all happening because of the East African Rift System. You can think of this as a massive scar running across the continent where the Earth's crust is literally being stretched and pulled apart. Africa is slowly splitting in two. So as the two tectonic plates, the Nubian and the Somali, drift apart, the crust thins out. This makes it way easier for magma to rise to the surface, and that creates a whole chain of volcanoes. What we're actually witnessing is the very, very slow birth of a new ocean, which will one day flood this entire valley. So what does this spectacular and, yeah, very disruptive event teach us?
Well, it serves as a huge wake-up call, and it's changing how we think about volcanic risk. Now, while the explosive phase of this eruption seems to be over, its legacy is sticking around. This event has forced a major reevaluation of which volcanoes we really need to be watching. Experts have directly called this a wake-up call. For decades, the focus was almost entirely on monitoring volcanoes that were already known to be active. This eruption proved that strategy has a massive blind spot. And that gets us to the most crucial point here. There's a world of difference between a volcano being dormant and being extinct. Hayli Gubbi has shown us that a volcano can be quiet for 12,000 years and still reawaken with terrifying and far-reaching power. And that leaves us with a final, pretty sobering question. This eruption was a surprise because that magma superhighway basically rerouted from one volcano to another. It makes you wonder, across our planet, in all the other vast volcanic regions, how many other quiet giants are just waiting for the right trigger to wake up?